Today, we're going to unravel the story of an invention that didn't just solve a problem, it completely reshaped our world. It's a tale of wine presses, master goldsmiths, and this insatiable human thirst for knowledge. So it all kicks off with a really weird question, right? How did a machine that was built for squishing grapes and olives end up sparking a global information revolution? Well, the answer is one of the most brilliant and kind of unexpected examples of innovation in all of history.
To really get the impact of the printing press, you first have to understand the world it was born into. And this was a world that was absolutely desperate for knowledge.
Just imagine, for a second, a world where ideas were basically locked away, accessible to only a tiny, tiny elite. That was Europe in the Middle Ages. You had new universities popping up, a merchant class on the rise, and they were all starving for books. But the supply? It was barely a trickle. The heart of the problem was the manuscript. I mean, every single book had to be copied by hand, letter, by a scribe. This process could take months or, in some cases, even years. Plus, they were written on vellum, basically a fancy parchment made from animal skin, which made them ridiculously expensive and really fragile. The whole system was just slow, costly, and it kept knowledge locked in the hands of the very, very few. So, naturally, people started looking for a better way. And the first step forward was a technology that slowly, and I mean slowly, made its way from the East. But it wasn't the final answer, not by a long shot.
You have to remember, ideas traveled at a snail's pace back then. First came paper from China in the 11th century. That was a huge deal. But it took almost 200 more years for Marco Polo to bring back stories of woodblock printing. With this technique, you'd have to carve an entire page of text onto a single block of wood, ink it up, and then press it onto paper.
Now, woodblock printing was a pretty big step forward, no question. It was faster and way cheaper than copying by hand, which started opening up the world of books to people like merchants and students. But it had one major flaw: scalability. You still had to carve a brand new, unique block for every single page. It was just way too slow to keep up with the exploding demand for books. And this is where our hero, Johann Gutenberg, enters the story. See, he wasn't just an inventor in the traditional sense. He was a master synthesizer who saw connections that nobody else did.
Gutenberg's true genius wasn't inventing something out of thin air. It was taking technologies that already existed for totally different reasons and smashing them together in a revolutionary new way.
His recipe for revolution had 3 key ingredients. First, the press itself. He grew up around vineyards, so he knew how wine presses used a giant screw to create a ton of even pressure. He just adapted that. Second, the type. As a master goldsmith, he knew all about creating precise molds, so used that expertise to cast individual, reusable letters out of a tough metal alloy. And here it is, the crucial innovation. Instead of carving one whole page on a block of wood, you could now just arrange individual metal letters to form any page you wanted. You print as many copies as you need, then you just break it down and rearrange those exact same letters for the next page. This was the game changer. This was the movable type printing press.
And the results were just staggering. A scribe on a good day might produce a single page. Gutenberg's press, it could churn out around 250 sheets in a single hour. This wasn't just a small improvement, this was a complete transformation of scale.
Okay, so with the technology perfected, the stage was set. Europe was about to change forever as the print revolution officially kicked off. So the first major book Gutenberg printed was, of course, the Bible. He produced about 180 copies, which was just an unbelievable feat for the time. But here's the really fascinating part. While the main text was printed mechanically, all the beautiful illustrations and colorful letters were still added by hand, just like the old manuscripts. It was this brilliant hybrid of old and new, and it was designed to appeal to those wealthy patrons who really valued that handcrafted look.
Gutenberg had opened the floodgates. The world that had been starved for information for centuries was about to be drowned in it.
The numbers here are almost impossible to wrap your head around. In the first 100 years of printing alone, so from 1450 to 1550, presses across Europe churned out an estimated 20 million books. That's more books than had been produced by hand in the previous 1,000 years.
But that was just getting started. In the very next century, the 16th century, that number exploded tenfold to 200 million. The growth wasn't just steady, it was exponential, and it was changing absolutely everything.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. This wasn't just about a new machine. It was a fundamental, earth-shattering revolution in how humans shared information. It became the engine that powered the Renaissance, it fueled the fiery debates of the Reformation, and it made the scientific revolution possible.
So, that brings us to a final thought. Gutenberg's press literally created the world's first ever crisis of information overload. For the first time in history, there was more to read than any one person could possibly get through in a lifetime. Sound familiar? It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the next print revolution that's going to change our world?